Good morning, everyone. This is the Immersal Mapping Clinic. We'll be starting in maybe 2 minutes, giving people 3 extra minutes to join. There might be some tool-related issues or network issues or whatnot, but we will be starting shortly. Our expert Avais is ready, and we are looking forward to having interesting questions from your side as well. As I mentioned 300 times already, this will be a monthly occurrence. We will be doing these mapping clinics every month, digging deeper into practical use cases or problems that people might be having with the mapping, and also the specific topics that need like its own episodes or more focus. But this is the first time, so this is focusing on the principles of mapping and of course your questions as well at the end. Now it's not yet 3 minutes past. I promised 3 minutes, but yeah, okay. I will start because this is not so crucial anyway, the introduction. So good morning, good afternoon. My name is Päivi Laakso-Kuivalainen. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer of Immersal, and I warmly welcome you all to our mapping clinic, the first one in the series. So we want to have these mapping clinics every month to help and to give tips and to give guidance to everyone using the Immersal tech. This morning, Avais Hassan, my colleague, will give you principles of the mapping, what's it all about, some basic tips and guidance, how you should get started, what can be the typical problems and so on. And then we have reserved also quite a lot of time for questions. Hopefully you can write those questions even when Avais is still talking to the chat or the questions part on the tool. And then we will go into after Avais's presentations, we will go into the questions and try to answer them as much as we can. And if there's something we can't, then of course we will get back to you after the session. The session will be recorded and the recording will be available to all of you afterwards. So good morning, welcome to the Mapping Clinic. This will be a monthly occurrence. We will have every month a mapping clinic like this, with digging deeper into some topics, handling some of the questions that we have received from you guys, on a deeper level. And we hope that this will help all of you to succeed in the projects you are working on now or in the future. So I guess that was the introduction. As I said, questions you can write to the questions box all the time during Avais's presentations, and then after his presentations we will look into them and answer them immediately as much as we can, and if we cannot, then afterwards. Welcome, right. And now I'm giving the floor to Avais. Go ahead.
All right, can you see my screen? Yep.
Yes.
Hello, good morning, and welcome to our first mapping clinic. My name is Avais Hassan, and today I will go through all the mapping details and what challenges we face during the mapping, or what kind of questions we come across. So starting with that, first of all, I would go to the basics. So Immersal SDK is a spatial mapping and visual positioning system. It allows you to merge digital content with physical world. The solution is completely markless, so you don't have to print out QR codes or anything similar. So it uses the environment itself as a marker. So that is the reason the mapping is so crucial. And the mapping is the core technology. So you need to make quality maps for robust end results, and that can last longer and localize in any conditions. So we make maps using two devices, mostly. Yeah, the first one is smartphones. For small to medium areas, we use smartphones. And for this, you can use Immersal Mapper app. And you can use any kind of cell phone with good camera results. And then there is a professional solution for enterprise users that is used for medium and large area, that's BLK2Go. That is like 10 times faster for the mapping, and we use it for the complex spaces. For this webinar, this is our first webinar, so I will only cover the smartphones because most of the users use smartphones for the mapping. So we will go through the smartphone. First of all, I will tell you all the basics, do's and don'ts about the mapping. Then you can just ask the questions, and in the second half of this presentation, I will answer any kind of questions. And you can also share like what kind of challenges you face, or maybe you can just give me the map of the area and I can tell you, okay, this is the best practice and how you can map the area perfectly. Okay, so basically for what does Immersal need for good map? Number one is good quality images, and the second thing is pauses. So well, let's go to the mapping basics. First of all, plan your route carefully. That how you are going to map, so you don't skip any of the part of that building, that structure, or any place that you are planning to map. So first of all, you should plan the route, that what route you will go and where you will be facing. Avoid taking picture at one place and move your feet, not just your hand. So what happens is that, for example, when a new user downloads our SDK and they want to test our SDK, what they will do, they will just download the Mapper app, and okay, they're sitting on the chair and just taking picture from their desk, just rotating their hands and thinking, okay, we have took enough pictures and it should work. So that is not the case. You have to walk around that place a little bit so you can get a good map. So capture viewpoints that end user will see. So while mapping, you should have in mind that it's not just about creating a good sparse map. It's about if it localizes for the end user. And your map area will work roughly the area you have walked. Let's say there are two things. For example, if you can see my mouse over here on the left corner, if a user is walking across this fountain and he is taking pictures, so this is the only area where it will localize. Or in the second example, let's say there is this big ground. So let's say a user is trying to create an application for athletes. So they are running, and the easiest way would be, okay, let's just take pictures from the track. So it will create a sparse map. And if you are making an application for the athletes, it will work perfectly. But if someone sitting in the chairs will try to localize it, it will not work because it's not made for them. So always keep in mind the user viewpoint. If you are making an app for audience, so you have to go between the chairs, walking in zigzags, and covering all the points where you have to display the content. So user is a priority here. So what can affect the results? So because a lot of people just click random pictures, and let's say someone like maps it in the morning, they have made a sample project by the night, and they will go out and it will not work. or maybe someone created a project maybe 4 to 5 months ago. It was winter, there was snow, and now it's summer, and they try to look like, okay, I created the application and test it now. It will not work. So first of all, lighting, the strong shadows, day, night, and artificial lighting are the things that can affect the results. And also the weather. And also, there are a few other things to keep in mind. If you are taking a lot of pictures, there are mirrors around. So reflection is where the technology gets confused, or maybe moving objects, car, or a lot of trees, or repeating patterns. So it will be hard for technology to distinguish. Okay, so let's come to the mapping techniques. So don't take pictures too close from the objects. Let's say you have to take pictures of the building over here. So if you're just walking on the footpath and taking pictures, you are too close from the object. So you will have a very little window to capture the viewpoints. So the little the area, the fewer the features, and map is likely to fail or maybe not localized. But if you let's say take the pictures while mapping across the road from the other side of the building, so it will have a larger area, a larger viewpoint, and a lot of features. So always try to take the pictures from a little bit further side, not just too close from the object. And you can again walk in different patterns. Don't just walk in straight line while taking the picture. Maybe you start from here, then take some picture at this point, from this point, or you can just plan your route accordingly, but don't just walk in straight line. So you get images from different distances. Yeah. So because you have to create the parallax. So distance between viewpoints creates the parallax. So that's why you have to not just move forward, but also a little bit right to left. If you're moving, that is fine. So yeah, too little parallax can cause fail maps. So now it comes to the good feature. So what is feature? The unique area of interest of an object is called feature. So you should have at least 3 images to capture a feature, because if you are sitting at one place and taking pictures, so you have 3 pictures from one viewpoint, it will hardly create any feature because there are not many details from one angle. So, but if you move a little bit at 3 different angles, so it will create good features. More viewpoints, the better, and you should have some distance between viewpoints to create parallax. Yeah. So these are the examples of good viewpoints, and at what distance you should take pictures. Overlap. Overlap is the most important thing. So features in the images needs to match. Make sure to capture the overlap, and at least 30% of overlap is required to build a map. So let's say the first orange image over here is the first image. The second one is this yellow one. The yellow one is overlapping, if you see here. So these are the features which are overlapped. So these are connecting features. And now if you focus on this part and this green part, so there is always 30% overlap. These over here, same with the blue one, and all the features are overlapping with 30% of it. And we also have setting in our mapper app. So if they are connecting, so it will show you a green box. Otherwise, it will show you a warning that it is not connected. Over here, all the images are like this part over here is overlapping with this one and all of this feature. But over here, it is, if you are just ending it here and starting over again from the opposite side, it will display you an error. Okay, it is not connected. So if you have connecting images, it will create a good map. So there are different types of environment where you create maps, and we will go through them today. First of all, most commonly used is hotspot. So small to medium-sized area where your user is around the map, like you can see that area in front of you and you can move around it. That is called hotspot. The examples are statue, shop fronts, maybe art installations, and exhibition booths. So while mapping the hotspot, you should keep these things in mind, that multiple viewpoints of the target, take photos in details where users are expected to be closer, a more detailed photo where user is expected to be closer, and too long target, you can, if the target is too long, you can do the mini arcs. So first one is like, take, I would go with this point, sorry, that one, yeah. So let's say this is a statue and it is facing toward this side. So this is the area where you are expecting to have more users. So while you are taking pictures from all across the statue, you can focus on the front area where most of the users will be coming and trying to localize. So you will have more images and more features from that point. And second type of hotspot is like there is an art installation right in front of you. So you can just take pictures from angle while overlapping, because if you're taking picture over here, it will like it will have a greater viewpoint and they will be overlapping all across, and it is on the different distances. Okay, so if the area of interest is too big, let's say you are walking down the street and someone has graffiti over the wall, a very nice, art on the wall, and you want to create a map out of it. So it will not be possible for you to walk all along, and maybe someone tries to localize it across the street. So what you can do is that you can perform small mini arcs and at different positions, trying to cover different angles, and then you can just cross the road and take pictures, because from this point of view, the field of view is way bigger. And here you have a detailed map, and this map is overlapping with this feature from this one. So it will be much easier for user to localize. It will create a map even if you try to create maps from here, but there is possibility that it might not localize from across the street. So it's better to have few images from across the street also, so it can localize. Okay, the next type is venue. So the venue is a place where users are within the map. The examples are indoor spaces, shopping malls, stadium, or museum. So you have to take pictures from roughly each position where user can stand and see, and viewpoint point to all directions with overlap. So if you on the left side, if you on the left side image, if you can see that if you are in the middle of the room, just rotating your arms and taking pictures all around you, it will create a bad map. It can fail, or even if it creates a map, it will not localize from this side of the room over here, or maybe from the right side of the wall from here. So, but if you look at the right side of the image, this is the correct way to map the area. That you are towards the wall, walking at the far side of the room. If you're standing right side of the wall, you can take pictures from the left side of the wall. So you will have a greater area. It will create good parallax, and the pictures will be overlapping, and you are walking. So it will, even though if you are standing in the middle of the room, because this image is covering this viewpoint, so even if you are in the middle of the room, it will localize. So maybe if you're standing over here and watching this side of the room on the right side, so this area is covered from this picture, so it will localize anyway. So next thing is, let's say there is a big hole. So you can divide it into smaller parts. Let's say there are a lot of pillars in that hall. So you can just move around them and try to do small arcs, and you can have a lot of data from. With this technique, you can have, like, from this angle, you can have all of these images from on the right side, on the left side, and it will localize perfectly. So let's say right now we are also working with the city scale. So yeah, if you are mapping a city block, maybe a courtyard, or maybe just a street or a road. So what you can do is that, again, you photo roughly each position where users stand and see, and do mini arcs along the corridor, road or city blocks, whatever you are mapping. And you can also take some pictures while crossing the street on the zebra crossings. So even though if the user is trying to localize it from while walking, so it can localize. So you can do little small arcs from both sides of the street, again, facing toward the opposite side of the street. Because if you are like standing here and mapping this side, like lower side of the block, again, it is too close from the object, and it will be like very few features to capture. So always capture the far side of the road, so you can have a lot of features in it. And let's say you are walking towards a narrow corridor. So usually corridors are like not very populated. These are like small places, very few feature points. But if there is any feature points, you can see, like maybe there is a small tree, or maybe a painting hanging on the wall, or a clock or something like that. So you can pivot a little bit toward towards that feature, and you can capture the overlapping images and try to walk in zigzag. Let's say zigzagging, I mean from point 1 to 2, then 3, then 4, and then focusing on the feature and moving away from the feature while focusing on it. So with this way, you will have, like, even though the image is a small feature, by walking in zigzag, you will capture different viewpoints. So even though the user is walking on the right side of the corridor, on the left side of the corridor, or in the middle, it will localize. So if you walk in a zigzag while taking overlapping images, it should localize perfectly. And here comes the multi-map. So with our technology, you are not just stuck with one big map, or maybe you don't have to plan everything in one go. Or let's say you are mapping 4 or 5 big rooms, or maybe one big hall or few small rooms. So you don't have to plan everything at once. So you can plan one thing at a time, but plan it perfectly, and then you can stick them together. So, or maybe if you are planning to map 2 rooms at once, you can also do that. So make sure, just like all the previous techniques, make sure that you have all the overlapping images. So you can map all. If you look at the left side of the image, I'm pointing my mouse at. So if you are taking picture from all across the room, you can include the door and just walk out of the room and take the images in that room also. So our technology will recognize the features when you are taking from the right side of the wall. You can taking images, and it will display, okay, there is a wall, and it will create, all those distinguishable feature points. And let's say you have created this one big map, and you have created this blue one map later on, and these are not connected at all. So you don't need to worry about that. So what you can do is that, let's say this is the room with yellow markers and a room with blue markers over here on the right side of the image. So once you have taken images from the lower room and the upper room, so what you can do is that you can create a new map, and you can walk from the room where there are the blue viewpoints. So you can start taking pictures from different angles and walk into the other room. And then you can use stitch map feature in our dashboard, and you can just stitch them together and it will work perfectly. So what things to avoid while mapping? So these are all the techniques you have to do, but there are a few things that you should avoid. Reflecting surfaces. So let's say you have captured all these features and there is a mirror on the wall. So if you are also taking pictures of the mirror, the technology will get confused. Okay, that if that feature is on the left side of the wall of the mirror or on the right side of the mirror, if the mirror is reflective. So reflective surfaces are difficult to localize. So because when you move, reflections move along with you, so algorithms get confused. So also in the low light, in the dark areas, it is difficult to localize. Again, you can create a map, but technology will be confused that where you're looking at, and also it is hard to distinguish the features in low light. So it should have, the place should have a continuous or a consistent lighting if you are mapping an indoor area, of course. So it's a challenging environment. Like say, well, we have like two examples over here. First of all is repetition. Let's say you map a hospital or maybe a hotel or maybe a 10-story hotel or a similar space where everything is repetitive. You go to floor one, there is same seating arrangement, same counters and everything. So it will be hard for technology to distinguish. Okay, it is just like visual memory, that if you are not told on which floor you are, you go to that and you don't know. So same. This is the challenging thing. You can program it by manual selections, but full building, you have to program it logically. But it can be done. It's not impossible, but you have to run some logic. So, and forest, like there are a lot of details that are changing, like if there is wind, the trees are moving, of course, the bushes and grass and everything is like moving. So there are a lot of tiny features and they are always moving. So it is hard for tech. And also a very little effect of weather will change the environment completely. So example of good environments, like let's go. So we created a test bed for Natural History Museum. There are bones, statue, and even though behind a glass, setting behind the glass, on the left one, you can see elephants behind the glass, but these are not a reflective one, so it localized. The lighting was static because, in the museums, the lighting is always the same because everything is indoor, but everything worked perfectly because there are no mirrors, no reflective mirrors. Glass is fine, it will localize behind the glass, but if it is reflective, so that can cause a problem. Or the second example is non-reflective buildings. Dynamic street level is also not a big issue because all this, if you can see from the ground level, all these buildings have very beautiful feature points from outside, and there are not much reflections, so it creates a good environment. So practice makes a man perfect, there's a saying, yeah. So mapping is a skill that only practice can make it perfect. So if you don't get a map correctly at the first time, don't worry about that. You have to practice it. Start from the small area, then you can go to the bigger areas, but always start from the small. Always try to make combinations of the technique. Like from the example from this, I would say, museum example. So when you walk into a museum, it's a big hall, and and this is a venue, like map is all around you, but then there are also small hotspots around it. So here you can combine all your techniques. Like in here, you are mapping it just like you are mapping a venue, all right, from across the street, from inside out, and it will cover almost every area where user can see. And then there are hotspots. Maybe there is some elephant, some dinosaur bones, or maybe some other kind of animals or some historical artifact or anything. So you can combine all those above techniques I have told you, and you can make a good map. So again, this is the same thing, like you are mapping from outside in and inside out if it's a bigger place. So that's it. Thank you very much. And if you have any questions, just write them and I will answer you. And again, this is a monthly session. So if we are not able to cover all your questions in this session, you can ask in the next session, and you can ask specifically that if you have any problem with the mapping in any kind of maps. So you can just ask directly that what kind of area you are mapping, what challenges do you face, and how you can overcome with them. Thank you.
Thank you, Avais. That was excellent. I learned again, was reminded of the principles, and there were good examples. Thank you. There are already a few questions in the questions box, and you guys can write more. Maybe we can start with the very practical question, which says, which is best practices for mapping a dim roof-lit room that may sometimes be full of people? Question mark. Focusing on the roof, perhaps texturing that, or creating a unique but stable light patterns. What else?
So for this one, I would say if you are mapping a roof, then your device will always localize from the roof. When you are, and you have to tell your end user that you point the device at the roof. So if there are any visual features in the roof, it will localize. And again, the lighting has to be static. If the lighting is changing always, user can lose tracking. That's all I would say.
Thank you, Avais. Then there was a question about venues. Regarding venues, would you recommend to scan when the venue is busy with people, which would be similar to the actual state of the place when it's used, or should I do it empty, though it doesn't then reflect the live state?
Yeah, so the answer to this is that you should do it without people, because our aim is not to just look like how it will look with the people, but to create a good sparse map where you can add features to it. Let's say there are sitting maybe 20 people at one place. So if you are creating a map with people in the room, so it will include maybe some features, maybe someone has a bag or bottle or a lot of features that will distinguish when users are not there. And it will be hard to localize it. But if you have created a map in an empty room, so these are just few people moving along, but those maybe there are not people sitting at some places, so it will create a good map if there are no people around, because people are always moving, and you will miss a lot of feature points. Maybe you are taking a picture, there is maybe a picture or maybe a lamp or something that can create a good feature point, and people are just walking across and you will miss them. So it's better to take a map without people. Yeah, I would say. Thank you.
Okay, then there's a question, what if it is a space that has both indoor and outdoor areas, and we need to route them through indoor and outdoor?
Sorry, I can't see the question here.
That's from, yeah, what if it is a space that has both indoor and outdoor areas, and we need to route them?
Yeah, I got it. Yeah. Okay. So if the space has both indoor and outdoor areas, route them. Okay, so with this one, I would say to go with this technique. You can still see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So you can see my screen. So let's say this is the indoor area, the yellow one, and you have captured it. And then there is outdoor area in the blue one. So you can capture two maps separately and then link them together, just like this red area in here. Or maybe you can, this is the indoor area, this yellow one is the outdoor area, you can create one map together, but always have an overlapping area where you take pictures. Yeah. So it's not a problem. Like we have created quite a few maps that work perfectly.
Thanks. Then there's a question. I have a large territory near the river. I did a scan in the middle of the territory. Isn't that enough?
The territory, do you mean building? Like if it's a building?
Maybe it's an outdoor area, I would guess.
Near the river. I did a scan in the middle of the territory. Is it enough? If you are scanning, like if your experience is from the middle of the, or you are displaying some content in the middle of the territory, then that's fine. But if, let's say, you have to display something, let's say you are, okay, let's say this pink dot in the middle of the screen, let's say this is your territory and there is a river in it. So if you have only scanned this area over here, so you have a good sparse map of this. But if you have not mapped it from, near the river where you want to display some content, so how would you place some content over there if there are no features? So I would say that you can just, let me give you some examples. By the way, this is the area we have mapped already. Okay, yeah, this area maybe. Okay, so, okay, let's say this is your territory. So if you are going to display some content over here, that's fine. But let's say if you want to, and this is a river, let's say.
We're back in the presentation now. We don't see your map.
Oh, okay. I just took a screenshot. Sorry.
No problem.
Maybe I have to change my sharing feature. Okay, I will just share my screen.
Yes, now we can see
now?
the map. Yes.
Okay. Okay, so yeah. So let's say here's your territory in the middle. You have mapped it. That's fine. And there is this river over here. So maybe you want to display some content over here. I would say in here. So if there are no visual features and you have not scanned anything here, so you will not be able to place anything over here. So you might take like, a small part over here and you can map this area. So you can place any content in there and it will be easier to localize for you. But if you're not planning to like place anything over there and your main focus is this area, then it's okay. You can just scan this area, place your content in here, and this is not an issue. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Avais. There's a question about sports stadiums, kind of a current topic for us. With sports stadiums, they often repaint the grass for different games and sponsors. Should you scan for each repaint?
Okay, yeah, I can see the question. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's almost at the bottom. No.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, I got it.
Yeah.
So here we have an image for the stadium. Okay. Yes. So first of all, like stadium is not a one big giant map. Uh, so you always divide it into smaller maps. So it's good that if you can take a recent map, create a recent map of the stadium, that is fine. Otherwise, there are a lot of other features. Let's say there is pitch that is always the same, or there are other features like, let's say, scoreboard or similar things. Let's say in this case, there is, this pattern is always the same, and chairs are always the same, or the viewpoint from the stadium is always the same. So it can localize from any of those features, but it's good that if you map it recently. Yeah, thank you. Yes, the next question is quite a big one. Thank you for the clear presentation. So your question, if I understand correctly, that is it feasible to use the LiDAR point cloud without any color information? Yeah, it is not mandatory to create RGB images. You can just use grayscale, and that's fine. And then there's a question of the outside.
Yeah, there's this outside question about summer and winter with the snow and then leaves on the trees. How should the scan be handled? And can scans taken at different times of the year be combined together to work better any time of the year?
Yeah, I would say that you should have a different, like buildings always stay the same. Doesn't matter if it snows, like the wall of the building, or maybe a signboard outside the shop, that always remains the same. The thing is only there is only snow on the road or on the rooftop. So if let's say a picture can get half of the features, so it will localize perfectly, but you have to consider the lighting effect. So I would say maybe you can have 2 or 3 different scans. One in bright sunlight, one is when it's artificial light, let's say evening or sun is setting, or one during the day, anytime. So if you can, the theory is that if you can create 2 or 3 good maps, so you can merge them together and create a super map. Thank you.
Good. I think we've handled the more or less sort of hands-on practical questions related to today. Then there are a couple questions related to something that, like more futuristic things that
so we are already working on it. So there's a question that when will video capture using the app be ready for full usage versus taking photos? So maybe in 2.0, I cannot promise this right now, but I have tested it and it is working fine. But right now I cannot promise anything. But we are working on this feature and running tests on it.
And then there was also a question of what's the cheapest pro method for mapping, the next level from mobile phones. Can a 360 footage be used? So this is.
Well, there are 2 things that Immersal needs. Number 1 is images and poses. If there are these 2 things, we can create a map, but that is like that requires a lot of manual work and only our enterprise license, because it requires a lot of manual work. So it can be done, but it is not recommended.
Yeah, but of course we are very interested about different devices because we realized that the high end is not practical for all kinds of projects. So we are looking all the time into different devices and yeah, investigating which could be good for this to be used with our tech and which could be good for our customers. So hopefully there will be a wider range of devices available soon. The first question is actually about using videos instead of photos. That is kind of the same that you already answered. Or
yes. What is the questions? The first question. No, I guess he's asking that not just the images, but only the video. But there is a developer option inside the Immersal app where you can capture a video. Basically, it is limited, but you can enable it in the developer options.
okay, then there's a couple of new questions. Does LiDAR or non-LiDAR mobile phone make any difference?
Yeah, it is better to have a LiDAR. Yeah, it is always better to have LiDAR in it.
Okay, good. For the case of similar floors slash areas, like the hospital example you showed, if we add distinct posters for each floor, how big they have to be picked up?
Sorry, where is this question? I can't see that.
Yeah, it's towards the end. It's second last.
For the case of similar floors, areas like the hospital example showed a distinct poster for each floor and they have been picked up. Yeah, you are talking about this example, right? Yeah. So it is possible that it can be programmed, like let's say it can be programmed with the logic. Like say if you are creating an application for the user, multi-floor hotel or hospital, so you can just program it. It is good that if there is some poster or feature, not all the hospitals are same, so there's always something different. But if it's exactly the same, then it can cause problem. Or maybe you can just program it a little bit. Maybe when a user enters a floor, you can just ask them, okay, which floor you are going. Or maybe you can have some logic that, okay, user, to distinguish that at which floor user is. So other than that, if there are visual features, a poster or any different features, then it is not an issue. Yeah, thank you.
But of course, it has to be there both in the scanning phase and when the users are using the whatever app it is that you are creating or solution that you are creating for them. So it's not just in the mapping phase, but also in the it's needed for the locationing. Then there's another question. Can we use our own LiDAR and photogrammetry point cloud models for mapping?
LiDAR photogrammetry point cloud models for mapping. I can use own LiDAR photogrammetry. We have not done that, but there is possibility that if we have high quality images and that data about the positions, it can be done. But you can send a message about Discord about details that what kind of tool you are going to use, so we can determine whether this specific tool can be used to create it or not. But there is possibility that but it will be much better if you can send your specifications of that device that you are going to use, so we can answer you better, knowing the capabilities of that device. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. I think we have covered all the questions. I'm just checking, but I think so. It was good to have so many questions. I think it helped everybody to understand the different aspects and areas of mapping. As I mentioned at the beginning, the recording will be available for you guys after the session, and we will continue. There will be a next one in June, next mapping clinic in June. So you can even send us questions beforehand if you like on Discord or through the website, and we can handle those specific questions in the mapping clinic. But in any case, that will happen, and there will be specific topics that we can dig deeper into next time. Thank you very much, Avais, for sharing your expertise.
And also, all the users can send us their specific, location based. Like, let's say you have a image or a video, or you can submit it us in advance. You can send us and ask us, okay, what is the best practice to map specifically in this area? If you're comfortable that we can present it in our presentation, okay, it will help others also. So you can ask, like, maybe a specific image of the or maybe a map of that place, and we can tell you exactly that how you can map that specific place.
Exactly, we can have this kind of even more clinic-like way of working, that we will dig into one case, which will help then all of the others as well when they are struggling with similar issues. So thank you very much. I wish you all very nice Friday and very nice weekend, and see you latest during the next clinic in June. Thank you very much.
All right, see you. Bye.
See you. Thank you.